Today's guest is this proof that the small details can actually impact your life in a big way. Our guest, Myriam Lopez, is also known as Mylo. She is the founder and owner of MyloFleur Floral Design. She holds a degree in landscape architecture and has lived and taught in many, many different countries. This conversation today, you're going to love it because we talk not only about design, but also how floral, your atmosphere can impact your life. She not only designs for big spaces, but she also creates intimate spaces for you. Hola, I am your host, Stephanie McGowan, and this is The Foundry.
I am so excited to be here.
I'm just so excited because we were talking behind the scenes, and by the way, for the people that doesn't know, Mylo has a florist business here in Las Vegas. You have over 20 years of experience.
Yes. I think it was technically, I feel that I was in a real business 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. And I think I think in 3 years the growth can I went from being just creative from home, from my office, from my apartment, being homeless and like all of this stuff where I was like the magic of creating was so provoking to me for me to keep going till I got hired for bigger volumes. And then I said, okay, I need a place. I need people. I need everybody hands-on. I need someone to. And so then I started learning, which I didn't want to do, was the other brain, which is like accountability, stability, and, and have order in my chaos. So I create beautiful things, and I had an assistant that said I was delusional in a good way, but now I have to be accountable and step back and really put all my chaos in order. And the chaos was created in my idealistic of utopia floral. But I don't focus as retail floral. I don't focus in everyday order. I don't have a recipe. I wake up, I look at images, I'm like, oh, and then I see we live in the desert, so then I have to go see what I can get from wholesalers, and then I develop a really good relationship with the wholesalers, and then I have to be, I think I have delusional clientele because they're like, can you make it? Yeah. And the empowerment is that my team doesn't really know anything or didn't know anything about architecture, floral, anything like that. So they really depend on the creativity, on the mechanics. So then that's when I started growing 3 years ago, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I want to go way back to the beginning because I want to touch on the part of one, you mentioned that you were homeless. I think a lot of some people have experienced that. And I wanna just like get to learn like little Mylo to the woman that you are today. So why at one point did you became homeless? Was that related to your business? What was it?
So I think I experienced homelessness about 2 times in my year span of life. One was not because of me, it was through my parents of beginning life, marriage. And that was the most powerful moment because I remember that was in Mexico. I think my parents were moving, and I've spoken about this a bit more, but my parents moved from Indio, California to Mexicali, and they had a home in Mexicali. Mexicali is a border town to Calexico, which is like California, Baja California. And I remember just waking up to the birds, and I was like, why are we not inside a home? But my parents like, because the people they rented to, they wouldn't come out. Anyways, so oblivious to what was going on. It was the moment that my parents were so occupied trying to find a home, and I was just looking for coins everywhere. And at the time, Mexicali, they had, or still does, they have little tienditas, like little shops inside people's homes.
Mm-hmm. I
And
think
there's,
I think that is in a lot of Hispanic communities too.
yeah,
In
like,
my back home, there is too. We call it kioscos, like
oh,
kiosks.
see,
Yeah,
where are you from?
I am from Venezuela.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. So very relatable and like similarity
get
of
it.
having everything on the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember with my little hand just grabbing like 3 pennies, and the lady said, "Una cajita sonrisa," which is like Happy Meal, but in Spanish. And she's like, "You don't have enough. When you do, come back." And she put back the 3 pennies, and I remember, and I was about 4 or 5 years old. And I remember grabbing it, and I said, "I will work my butt off until I can buy one." And that is still to the point where I, I create all this stuff, I entice, I deliver, and then I count my pennies still.
Really?
It really, like, what your childhood really depends
It
on.
shapes you.
Yeah, it shapes you. Like, your first 5 years of this earth, like, you really start depending on, I don't want to have this. I don't like this. I don't want this. And so you start pushing, like, you're your own architect, literally, of your own little story. So when I did something similar like this when I told my parents I wanted to go. There's a summer program in UNLV.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're gonna move like a couple years, and so I'm at UNLV, doing my master's in architecture, and my parents tell me, "You're old, like you're in your 30s, like you have to depend on yourself." And I was like, I know, but can you please support me? I want to go La Ibero. La Ibero is like Harvard of Mexico, and I just want to do a summer program. And my mom's like, no, I can't support you.
Sorry to cut you off. At that point, were you living here in the U.S.?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're back. Like my 3 pennies helped my dad understand that I was crying so much, and I was like, Dad, I can't buy a Happy Meal. I was like, we will never go through this again, and he has kept to his promises. Yeah, he's legit like. But now I learned a lot through my travels, and I don't know how much we have time, but it was like through. Okay. So when I go to La Ibero, my mom and I have a my mom and I were very close until I started developing my own persona and I started arguing with her, which is in the 30s. And she's like, you need to start being independent. You need to start, which is legitimate, all great things said.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, why can't you support me a little bit more? Like, just 3 more months, and then I will make sure I'll pay you back. So my mom was like, no. Oh, I won't do it. I was so hurt. I remember telling her in the airport, like, peace. Like, Señora. I was like, so mad. And then I ran into someone that was her friend in the airport, and I was like, I'm so mad at my mom right now. And then I was sitting with her going back to Mexico, which was crazy. And then she's like, maybe your mom she really wants you to become more than just depending on her. And I was like, how dare she? Like, I'm trying my hardest. I go to school all the time. Anyways, the victimization of my mindset, because I didn't understand her standpoint. I went to Libero. I promise you that was homelessness, because even though I had a hotel or breakfast was included, I didn't have lunch. I didn't have money for lunch. I didn't have money for anything. And my roommate, too, who is like one of my BFFs, my roommate at the time, also didn't. She also came. She was cutting her makeup strips into little squares. And then we went and bought to Walmart. We bought peanut butter in Mexico. And we're like so done after the second week of eating peanut butter. I was stealing donuts from the hotel. And I was crying because it was like, again? I'm in my 5-year-old, and like why didn't I save? Why did I travel the world, and how come I didn't save and stuff like that? And then the thought came, but you can do things. So I started teaching English in China at night while I was going to school at Ibero. And then that didn't work out because I was so tired during the school time. So then I started applying to like Mexican Vogue, like just submitting my portfolios, and then we got hired by a photographer from Las Vegas. I was heading to Cancun. Said, I'll pay you if you go down there after you're done with your school. And that is where I was like, hey, I'm still homeless because I was not coming home. So I called my professor and I said, my airplane's bought, and I just don't want to go home. And he's like, well, you're a grown woman and you can stay. How are you going to survive? I don't know, only had $5. And so then I received payment from the little shoot. And then I started traveling all of Mexico by myself, visiting areas. And I ended up in Tulum, Cancun. Yes, I went to Cancun. I ended up with the photographer. And then I decided to take a really early morning walk by the beach. And I don't even know if this is a word that you might know in Spanish. Sargazo. Sargazo. Okay. So it's like seaweed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the beach is usually turquoise and stuff like that. And beautiful, clean. But from Turkey and all this stuff, the seaweed has like come for because there was a bacteria. This is really important because I'm looking at the birds and I was thinking, wow, where are all these little birds are all around? And the fishermen are trying to get the mothers and the fathers of the fish of the birds get out of the seaweed because they're dying in there because there's so much. And the epiphany hit me where this guy goes, I'm trying to save the young birds, but the birds are not learning to catch by themselves.
Wow.
So these birds son gaviotas maleducadas.
Mm-hmm.
And so which means like they're not trained to survive or they're just like spoiled little birds. And that's when I realized that's what my mom was trying to do. So this is really important because this defines MyloFleur in the delusional part and the storytelling and the understanding the philosophical of life versus design.
Yeah.
So I went back and I remember calling my best friend. I said, can you find me an apartment by Novi so I can walk, be sustainable, blah, blah. And she's like, what? Where's your family? I'm not talking to them. Blocked. And she's like, why? I was like, because I need to prove to them that I can do it. I can do this. And I'm the only girl. So I remember getting this apartment. I didn't have anything. I have actually the pictures where I'm just like, it's just my luggage. I have a towel just to sleep on. My best friend's like, wait, I only have $100 to buy a pillow? Do you know how much are the pillows? They're like $35 after that. And I was like, just buy me what you can. And so she picks up a towel, a pillow, and then her mom sent me a big blanket. I know that I'll never. See, the hardest parts are the things I always remember.
I wanted to ask you, you say that you were traveling to China, to all over. What were you doing when you were traveling?
Yeah, so we were in, first I applied to go to Russia for it was like an internship, but then I had to go through BYU and get the permission to enter. So, because there has to be a purpose you want to go through to Russia. And I had no clue about Russia. I just wanted to go because of the architecture. And I ended up teaching a primary school in English. And again, English is my second language. So here I am I'm just kidding.
It would be me teaching English, okay?
Yeah, no, the kids love me because I knew how, like, I see what you're saying. Like I don't even know if you're putting this on the podcast, but there was this little kid that said, F is for thank you. And I was like, that's right.
Yep.
But he learned the word, and then I was like, okay, let's learn about F and TH. Those are really hard. But I get it. Whatever you do. So I think that's when I learned more about me. That was that's my first scenario case. And then from there, I love that teaching program that is called ILP and International Language Program through, I don't know if they're connected still through BYU language program, but so I ended up linking with them. I finished my undergrad in landscape architecture and architecture, and then I went to Russia, and then from Russia, I decided to go to Ukraine. I had a crazy story. Then from Ukraine, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to China as a leader. So I was in charge of like 10, 15 girls. In China, I learned about what it meant to be an American citizen.
Why?
Because I think I had the opportunity to go to Hong Kong versus mainland, and I lived in mainland. And in the connection of being like LDS and, you know, religious Christian, you get read all the, like, you're not allowed to talk to the citizens about religion. You're not about to, they ask you, don't answer, you go to jail. And so, yeah, that was to me like, and so people, can we go to Hong Kong and talk about your life in America? Yeah, sure. No, you cannot do that. There's that, and I'm telling you, this is like back 20 years ago. And I recently just, no. Oh, yeah, like, time has gone so fast. That was like,
time has
holy
flown.
cow.
It's like I was watching the Hannah Montana thing, and I was like, it's been that many years.
Yeah. And those experiences is because I did floral. I would like to go and see like the flowers, what they consider art, like design, because everybody has different design, floral designs in every country. I like actually, the techniques in architecture that to form things. I was so impressed by it, and I grew up in floral, but I would call it the underground floral of hospitality, because I was in the basement with my mom, working at MGM and Mirage events at Bellagio. We did all the MGM hotels, and then Wynn started 2005. Oh, 20 years ago. And then that's where I started growing. And like I said, I hate flowers. I do. Like, I hate cleaning them and stuff like that. Now I'm like, it's a necessary thing. It's a tray that I needed to pick up, seriously. But that's, while I'm traveling and I'm going to school, I'm working at Wynn. And that's when I started realizing we are all connected. Like water, flowers, spaces, there's really not a distinguished moment, because a space without interior design is really just an empty vessel. And so like my philosophy goes on and on and on, and that is what built the traveling, understanding how I thought, not who wanted me to think that way. Make sense?
Yeah.
So
from traveling, UNLV, what was the thing that inspired you to start your own business? Because I feel there is so much lesson in your story. I personally can relate. Like, for example, just a story that I will give you just because you give me yours.
Yes, proceed.
So when I moved to the US 10 years ago in 2016, I was illegal. And I was working what I could find. And I remembered there was this restaurant that I started working at. I didn't have money to buy food, so I was eating at the restaurant. I was able to, my mom's friend, she loaned me some money to buy a car, $2,000, like the cheapest car I have bought. But I was able to buy that car, and I only could put $5 in my gas tank. So I always drove with $5. Now, I'm not sure if I would be able to drive with that amount. But those were the experiences that really throw me back, and I really remember every single person that helped me through that, because one, I was like drowning in water, but there was something inside of me that was pushing me. There was like, I can do this, that I had this big, huge dream and ambition, and I just wanted to do it. It didn't matter how deep in water I was. I just knew that at what point I was going to come out. And I remember that time, every time I asked one of my coworkers when I run out of $5, I was like, can you loan me $5 until I get my paycheck to put gas on my car? And I called my mom every night and told her that there is this movie that I saw this phrase. They said, what you don't have today, you're going to have it in excess tomorrow.
Really?
Yes. So in Spanish is lo que hoy te falta, mañana te va a sobrar. and I just keep repeating that to myself
What movie
over
is that?
and over and over. I need to I need to find it because it was like long time ago. So and I just keep repeating myself that because there was time that I didn't know how I was going to survive. Like so your story just hit so much home.
Yeah, because in reality, I can tell you about everything, right? Every single little thing. But what drove me was proving who I was or who I wanted to become.
Who did you want to prove that
to? My dad. I think my dad really. So, a lot of people don't know this, so this is why I'm going to disclose this. When I was younger, I was considered in my family very beautiful. And then in Spanish, like, esa se va a embarazar rapidísimo. Like, she's going to get pregnant really fast. And I was like, offended. Because, and that played a lot into my mindset. And I did have a boyfriend here and there, but all my love relationship has always been very secretive. I always call them my friends. And I'm like, hey, if you want to date me, I got to call you my friend. Because if not, my dad would be like, this one is not going to finish her career. This one is not. But I don't think dad meant to do that to me. I think he was just like, it's okay. But he would say, I said, Dad, I want to go to architecture. Myriam, you're going to get married like next year. Like, don't waste your money. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I was just like, so that was my trying to prove my dad. I wanted to go to film school. I ended up switching the next day to a landscape architecture because I liked the plans. And then I realized analytically that the MGM could pay for school. So I was like, I was straight. But my dad didn't support me to go to school. Like, he actually took me to electrician, the IBEW, to take a test. And I just sat there, failed it. I was like, he's like, this is my dad's idea. If you go and become an electrician, they will pay. You're so smart and so resilient. You'll get $35 an hour, 45, 50, 65, 75. By 30, you can just be wherever you want and you can go to school. And I was like, no, Dad. And I cried and I cried. This is not the American dream, Dad.
Yeah.
I used to, and so I don't know. And I haven't really talked to Dad about that. But it wasn't until I got my shop 3 years ago where I was like, Dad, do you want to work with him? Because he's an engineer. And he's like, yeah. I think that was my glory moment when my dad looked at my projects at Fontainebleau, stood back, and I have pictures of him and me talking and arguing with him, stood back, and his eyes, like, he cried. And he's like,
yeah.
Wow.
Because you have work in incredible projects like Fontainebleau, the Venetian, like
that Bellagio. But Wynn, for me, it was my master class. Like, if you go to Wynn, there are some really amazing designers back in the day that really set up this. We have Terry Gold, we have Evelyn, we have many, actually Paige Dixon, who was in the beginning. I grew up with them. And I saw them transform with Jeff Latham, Mr. Wynn, Miss Wynn, really transform that stamp of luxury floral. And it all has to do with Jeff Latham, who works at the Four Seasons. I was with him maybe 2 days, and that was the most impactful moment for me because he was like, he knew how to make decisions right away. He geometrical basis and just very installations in 3 seconds and decision making, because our designers have a tendency to say, the decision making should be faster so you can see better results. So seeing my dad thinking, this girl wants to be an architect, but she works in floral, and he will tell my friends from architecture in Spanish, because it has to be, esta trabajando en las florerías con las flores y estudiando arquitectura. I don't know how that's gonna work. Meaning, look at her. Yeah.
How she's going to be doing floral, like studying architecture and still doing florals. So how do you went from architecture to floral? Because I feel like since the beginning that you went in the beach in Cancun, I think that has played somewhat an impact on your life.
Yeah.
What makes you say, I wanna start moving to florals? Like, I feel passionate about creating these beautiful spaces.
But you asked me something earlier, and I don't think I answered. You said, how did you start your business? I never said, here's my outline of that I want to be a floral designer and an architect, and this is my plan. No, it was more like, oh, I want to travel and get to know the history, and I did travelography. I work with National Geography, taking pictures, and that's how I made paint. Actually, they do pay well, so that's another cool one. I won a lot of prizes in China, but that it led to really understanding that I had nothing. I never had anything. I also work at Cirque du Soleil. I did a lot of piano. I taught students piano while I was going to school.
But how old were you at this point?
How old?
Yeah. Not right now. Like when?
This. So me going through music, because music was embedded in me since I was little. So that was one thing. And I don't know if this happens in Venezuela. Concentraciones de música.
Yes.
So, okay, my parents will leave me there for like maybe a month or two. Maybe a month. No more than 2 months. But I would be da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I was like, I hate this. Floral. I hate this. I'm just doing it to help my mom. But then, smart enough, I was from like 15 where I really started seeing the money making till I was 23 when I graduated on 24 undergrad in landscape architecture. And I ended up in landscape architecture because it married plans, and still you have to learn about structure and engineering. And it's biology and all that. I hated it. I have severe, I don't know, like dysmorphia more likely. No, I'm just kidding. Dyslexia. I have dyslexia because I was like, wait, that word doesn't make sense and stuff like that. So I took longer than usual. I will fail majority of my classes the first time, and then the second time I had them, like an A+, because it's just I have to see it. I have to fail. And I think my family and I are like that. And then that's when I got my first paycheck from a friend from church that said, Mylo, can you do my flowers? And I have $1,000. And I was like, you have $1,000? What do you need? Like, to me, that was so much. And that was like $1 for me. Like, it's just like $1,000. Wow, what can I do? And then she told me she wanted bottles until I did it. And I told my dad, I'm going to use the garage and stuff like that. And I got the name, and she's like, what's your name? And I said, MyloFleur. And she wrote the cashier's check on that name. And that's when I went to like the bank and I said, can I check this? And she's like, no, it's in your business name. I didn't have a business account. I didn't have anything. And that is how I started my business in 2005.
Wow.
Actually, 2005. Slowly but surely.
So she made you start your business.
Yes, because I thought I didn't want to be a business person. I just wanted to create. I just wanted to survive. I just wanted to prove maybe I could work for somebody. But slowly I noticed that people were asking me, because of where I worked, I could get a lot of hookups of like good flowers coming in from LA. I don't have to buy them from Trader Joe's or Smith at the time. There was no Trader Joe's. But the point was that it was someone that actually recognized me, and as Myriam Mylo Lopez, it was like, oh, she's MyloFleur. And that is how it happened. Not because I planned it.
Wow.
It was because of the check.
What has been the biggest lesson as a business owner that you have learned?
Stephanie, I think is trust. Being meek and trusting. And that goes into my family. Like, I trust my family so much, and I find people, intellectual women, I try to find them, but then there's a time and place where you just need to stop being codependent. And I think this year that reflects that, where is my dream.
Yeah.
Not everybody, it's my dream. People love the idea of my dream. They love what I do, but they don't know the late mental breakdowns that I have, or where I have to learn. It's funny, I saw something on TikTok that said, I just sold this, now I need to learn how to make it. But I was like, okay, I have to play with my mediums, and I have to my forms, and then like, is it going to be, because I did study structure engineering, and then like, even though I hated those classes, they make my money in big volumes. It doesn't mean that everybody in your team is going to wake up with that ideal. And that's when I realized that I was pouring into my clients and also into making sure my team was okay. Or or I was not making enough to hold enough team. And then I was saying, like, I'm responsible for so many. I'm responsible for my client, for my team. And then I just sat back and I was like, I was looking at myself and I was like, this is not the dream. This is not what I've been fighting everyone. And now I have to like spread my wings and make sure everybody's okay. I think that was the biggest lesson for me to realize, let go. And I had my conversations and I by myself, and I said, I think I have to let them go so I can restart again. And I have this restart button. And then now I'm like, okay, I'm a unique design studio. I'm a production studio. I get paid by projects. I don't have a daily order. So I have to, that was a setback of the brain that I don't want to be using majority of the time. Now I had to say, Myriam, let's have a conversation. Where are you going with this? These are heavy projects. Are you wanting to be like this for until like 70, 80 on the ladder, making all this? And then I had to say yes, but if I prefer doing it by myself than having a nagging team or someone that's trying to just be there for an employment, because I don't know about you and me, we're resilient, I can tell, but the generations to come are just saying, where is my benefits before I complete the project? And that was hard for me. Different struggles. They think this generation is more about popularity, making sure you can do content and make sure you do the best, and then you have work content here and there. And are we learning how to do the basics anymore? Because I can tell you that I can ask somebody to go into my shop and ask them, can you build that for me? Here is the instructions. Nobody reads them anymore. Everybody has to be entertained. And that was so hard for me last year, because I was like, I'm not meeting the same level. And that was my hardest part of my career.
So you had to rebuild.
Yeah, reconstruct again, restart again. What kind of team do I want? What kind of atmosphere do I want? So now I've decided to do per project. And it's funny, because it's from another team member, I got recommended another girl. And she's so new to me, but she reminds me of me. She showed up, like she was alarmed, and I said, hi, and she tells me her name, and she's not from here, she's from Ukraine. And I said, before I get to know you, I've never done this before. So I was like, before I get to know you, get to know me. All I'm going to be looking at, if you can follow me, your speed and your comprehension. And do you speak English? She's like, enough. And I was like, dang, yeah, girl, get it. Get it, girl. Don't ever say, I'm sorry, no, I get, but I can do, no.
She just was confident.
She knew, and she watched me, and I was like, and I was overdoing it too, because I was like, I want to see if she starts like, I'm sorry, this is too much for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I actually want to go home. I was waiting for that. And she's like, what's next? And then she's like, Mylo, I'm not doing it your way, but can you check how I'm doing it? How do you think about this? And I was like, inside, I'm like, dang, girl, you're killing it. But so after 5 hours, I said, I have never done this, and I'm going to say something. She's like, yeah. I said, I'm going to pay you between $20 to $25 an hour, depending on how you respond, how you this and this. Let's do it again tomorrow. And I don't want to talk about who you are. I don't want you to know who I am. And she's like, I know who you are. I already read all your articles. Some of them are twisted, so don't read all of them. So it's like, so it's just like, okay. And she came back, and then I had to do 260 tables, and I already had scheduled myself. I can do 7 to 10 centerpieces myself, but they're not flowers. They're like sculptures that I have to do. And she brought her little pad to stand on, her little knife, and then she's like, I'll stay until you leave. 2 a.m. And I was like, hey, if you want to go, no, I'm a team player. I don't leave. And I said,
wow,
why are we not, I mean, money's going to her. Like, I was like, I will train her. But that is something that I've been struggling. And all the floral designers that have either a shop or somebody have been saying that to me. They either come and steal my ideas and see how I do my business, so they're not here to help me, or they're here just to have a paycheck, and all they do is like, oh, this could be better. This could be like critiquing. But no one can step into the shoes of a floral designer or florist, or I'm going to say floral designers. You can't really put your feet in a floral designer, because that is a mentality of social connection to the entire world of engineering, science, architecture. Nothing's disconnected. And all the difference is that how we manifest ourselves in the mediums, in the type of plants. And it's the hardest because plants fluctuate. Like they go up or they go, no, they never go down. I've never heard a flower go, oh, it's cheaper now. No. They all go higher. Everything's super expensive now. So we have to always find a way to have a equilibrium of it. And I'm saying this with thinking of a floral designer has been really long time here in Vegas. Actually, she's like the godmother of this place. And I've been listening, and she says, no one understands our design or our career because they'll come, hi, I saw this flowers in Pinterest, and I'm looking to pay for $300 for 700 centerpieces. It's not a trade anymore. It's a design detail boutique. There's not many that can do that. Many can create their own design, but executing styles and perfection and class is different. And with architecture, with me, is that I just don't focus on visual, which is like 2 feet. I focus on bigger scales, and that is what opened the doors for me to become a little bit different and be from architecture, talk to architects to really just sit down with floral designers and say, hey, what do you guys think about this scale and stuff like that. Is, now that I think about it, it's one of the most I will redo this again. If I have to go buy 3 pennies worth of, Happy Meals, I will do it again, because I had to learn how to put it together, and I did it. And that's why my dad cried. He's like, you made floral be the new architecture. And I was like, yep, floral is a new architecture. In structural, in vases, I create vases. I can talk to manufacturers to make me vases of solid gold. Like I know how to do that because I learned how to work with minerals and stuff like that. It's crazy, but that's what survival makes you do.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
Like
taught me a lot of
you have come so far, honestly. So MyloFleur only focusing big projects, or you also focusing on small projects? Like if a client wants to work with you, what are the type of projects that you do?
I'm glad you asked that, because I'm focusing on bigger scales, but I will never forget my community, because it was that young girl that gave me that cashier's check that believed it. Yeah, $1,000. And I was like, but I will never forget. So if someone comes in and says, I have a budget, I also have to have my business healthy. So I can say, I'll do this. I also, one thing that I've kind of started doing, which is not why, because they're beautiful, but introducing faux as a base, flowers, like silk flowers, because a lot of people can't afford the real flowers that are like on Pinterest or in the hotels.
Are they still like faux flowers that look nice? Because I feel like that is so hard to find.
So like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, they don't have real touch faux. There's manufacturers I've been working with in China that actually do, even the plants that don't have that plastic. Sorry, they have to learn how to, you have to learn how to see how they can work with plant materials and they can survive in our heat. So what I've started doing was, Mylo, I have a quinceañera, and I only have like $4,000, but I have 40 tables. What is your style? What's your colors? I have this. My warehouse, when you come see it, is full of faux, whites, blues, purples, greens, because that is the base. And then I put the layer topping will be real flowers, so it can counterbalance also for the community. To me, that's so important, because I'm nothing without the community. Stephanie, like if I forgot about them and I was like, I'm better. Like I'm the fan now. Fontainebleau, love them. I love my big projects. I love them, but they come once in a while. And what's as consistent is I still have that relationship with community, but they also need to know about like faux flowers, and then that's where I come in and teach them. And I wish I could do more workshops and with like community to be able to understand.
We need to plan a workshop.
Okay, let's do it. Because it's so important. Like, what is moving? What is architecture with floral? What is floral just design? What is just decor? What is the difference with all three of them?
Yeah.
And then spaces, volume, colors.
It's amazing because I used to think, I feel like you're changing my chemistry, like my mental chemistry in regards of flowers.
Okay.
Because I was, before knowing you, the type of person that I don't waste money on flowers, and I call it waste because, for example, my husband, every time I tell him not to buy me flowers because they are good for 5 days and it's a lot of money and they went bad.
Yeah.
But the way that you explain it, that is also like creating shapes with it, and it's like a type, like a very different type of feeling that you can create with with flowers. It makes me want to send a text message to my husband, hey, I want flowers there.
Yes. And another thing I really want to be clear when you're saying that I root for all the floral designers. I'm not a competitor. I don't compete.
Vegas is a very competitive city. Like,
yeah, why?
Yeah, what makes you like, it's like, how did you stand out in the city? Because there is a lot of competition.
I think it was my mentality, my delusional ways of saying, oh, you have seeing scale and volume differently. But I've noticed that there's younger girls that have been just started, and I root for them. I root for those young girls. Nobody is like artists. If you see all Van Gogh and all these artists, they're all artists, but they don't manifest the same language. Everybody has their designs, their signatures, their logos. My branding it was focused more on women. First off, my logo is about women are powerful. I'm not like a feminist, but I am feminine. And femininity for me has power in all the world. A woman walks in very well appealing and confident, can change the mindset of men right away in 3 seconds.
Even the women too.
Yeah.
I feel like us as a woman, sometimes when we get like ready, or even like our attitude, we walk into a room or we interact with other women.
Yes.
The way that we stand in our own body, it can make other women feel confident too. Like, I feel like that is so magical. I always feel that every woman or every person in general needs to inspire other people, and I feel like that is what you're doing today.
Yes. Competition and money does not having to do who if someone's better for, or I can do better. I logged out of Instagram sometimes because I feel like sometimes I feel that everybody's individuality has kind of crossovered everybody in different ways, meaning like I see the same picture over and over and over. But I'm starting to see now that they're standing up, and I'm saying they, like, it's not just a certain group, it's everybody in the world. Everybody's coming in like, what if we do metal? What if we do this? Yes, do metal. Yes, introduce stone with floral. Yeah. And then that's...
Take chances.
Exactly. And I'm seeing that thrive of like, just do it. And so I root for those girls. I root for the men. Do it in your signature. That plant was already created by Mother Nature. Okay? So this is my story time. That flower has been designed by the most powerful being on the whole entire universe. For us. Now, we grab it because we love it, and there's a sentence in that, and that's I've touched it. Look at my fingers are like so scarred by them. I love it. I touch it, and I say, "Whoa! Well, what if I grab this and I start creating this scale of movement and shapes? Oh, what if I start creating? It's hot. What if we do some brighter colors on the lights?" And so that's where my movement. I'm not thinking who's getting it. I'm thinking how I'm making Mother Nature proud. And that is when it starts going into storytelling. It was like, this flower was being in a little mount, and then we grab this river, and we're going to do a river of grass here, and then we're going to introduce a structure element so it doesn't fall out or fall apart. And then water misting, because we have our enemy, which is also our love, sun, to start putting it on there, you know? And creating that storytelling is what creates design with the elements that make us laugh, live, and smile, and live again. Those are the most important components for all the struggles and resilience that we always have to push towards too. And isn't that the greatest gift given to us?
That is so beautiful.
But think about it. Isn't it the greatest thing? And I also related to a book that I read. I can't remember it, but it's by Sao Paulo. It's like the Alchemist.
It's a great book.
Isn't it amazing? And he loses it all. And then he starts crying because, they rob him. And this is how I remember the story. And then he goes, and who taught him was said, but didn't steal your power.
Your essence, yeah.
Yeah. You can do it again. And he's like, just give it to them. That's what I think when I get hit. Just give it to them. And it could be emotionally, it could be physically. Ever surrender, I'll rebuild again. But that is another layer of our character which matures. Just like the flower has to have resilience. The tree has to have resilience. Wind pushes it to becomes, and the trunk gets stronger. And then we have to cut it to keep it growing. And it grows more. And then we have to trim it again. If we really see how nature teaches us to overcome this, then we will really understand the purpose of this life. And then this goes deep into my mythology, but I only know that flowers have so much power. And I've never received those flowers make me sad. I was like, what? Or I did have someone that said that they had allergies, and I felt like, oh my, okay, let's just here's your allergy pill. But I think that's the most important part of understanding humanity. And I asked my CEO, Trent Weaver, who actually, I was like, why do you keep working with me? Because it's like maybe I've seen one or two people like, Mylo, I don't think this is what I ordered. But then you're immediately no, this is what we talked about. But I constantly see, Mylo, wow, how did you do this? And I'm just like, because of you. You gave me the recipe, the ingredients, and you. He's like, if I work anywhere else, it's always like, you didn't do this, I didn't do that. And I was like, okay, we will keep going with MyloFleur. And my dad still comes and helps me all the time because it's my daddy timeline. And, mom comes and helps me when she feels it. But I think that my mom did it for so many years that she kind of feels like, why don't you just become an architect? But I've never been into that field at all.
I really want to dig a little bit into the way that you think, because I feel like a lot of people needs to hear that right now. So what do you think? Because you have rebuilt so much. Mm-hmm. You have got knocked down and got up, and also this amazing business. We were talking off camera earlier about your whole story, and that sometimes online there is a lot of communication or miss things said about you. Not bad, but things they are not accurate.
That's
so
right.
I really want to take the time to get to know the way that you think more, and also kind of correct that, because we were talking earlier about something that I found during my research, and Mylo was like, no. So what are things that a lot of people get wrong about you?
I actually never really had the time to sit back with anyone and actually had the statements that you had, or the statement that you had. And I never really see what people write about me either, which I need to start doing it now. But I've from what you asked me, and can we talk about what happened? It's so Stephanie's like, if you don't want to talk about your mom's passing, and I was just like, what? My mom didn't pass away. She's live and kicking.
Which is good.
Yeah. And then I was like, wait. And she said it was on my website. And I was like, wait, I have to check again, what's going on there. And then because only that, there was also another article that came out and said that my mom was that we were cleaning hotel rooms when we decided to become floral designers. And so there was a misunderstanding. It was just 3 words that just turned the story into not really what it was. And so my mom has never cleaned house or clean what is it called? Hotel rooms. And I have never been in housekeeping either. I have mad respect for housekeeping. I will never meet them. Like, that was learning how many, anyway. So I thought it was like, I contacted the person. I was like, oh, this is how we felt like it will sell better. And I thought, oh, I'm really disappointed because housekeeping is another level of magic. Yeah. Like for Latinas.
And what they do.
And other minority, yeah.
Yeah.
And so exactly what they do, what they have to face and all this stuff, right? My mom did housekeeping, but back in the day in California, but never where it was here. And so I tried to correct it. And then a director of, I think it was a Fontainebleau, when they read it, I think it was a Latina, it was a popular one where everybody that read it was like, oh yeah, she used to do housekeeping. The guy goes, corrected. This doesn't read right. And I emailed them, nothing. And I just left it. Like, it's like, whatever. I'll every time it brings in. Then I also go into nonprofit. I work in a nonprofit. I actually created a nonprofit it's called Land to Land, de Tierra a Tierra. Mm-hmm. It's for torn-worn countries of the areas that I used to live in. Ukraine and so forth, in Russia, in Kazakhstan, in Georgia, the country. So then I think there was a podcast guy from a YouTuber that got on the phone with the acting director, which is Trent as well. And he said, wait, is she a feminist or something? And I was like, what? And how I read in another article and so another article was like, she is like, really, it was like a very empowering woman type, and I can't remember it. But how he read it was very degrading. And so I was just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, it's just, it's like, wow, the power of maybe like sentence phrasing or stuff like that. And that was supposed to help my nonprofit. So they're over here thinking I am biased by, maybe I want to recollect how I say this, but I'm biased. I'm not here to overpower or underpower. I'm here to help humanity. Just like, and I wrote, one flower can help one soul. Just buy flower, and that goes into my nonprofit. And that nonprofit is for those that we're trying to prevent from human trafficking. A lot of Eastern Europeans fall into human trafficking. Children go missing. I don't want to tap into so many depth in that, but I did want to have a secure, safe place for them. So I built, we rented housing and through the Latin America areas to protect and keep families together. And that's hard. Yeah. That's very hard. We had a lot of opposition, a lot of political opposition. And again, I said, I stand here because the most greatest being on this earth is the one that gave me the opportunity to. And I don't answer to men or women that are against helping others. I don't waste my time. Yeah. And we had so much help, but it was the YouTubers or podcast people that were like always trying to find conflict in my character and what I did to have an opposition of things. And I understand that. And it's part of their career, right? But that's when I said, okay, we have to be careful on that. But no, going back to my mom, she's really good. she's I could hear it. She's live and walking, and I will make sure that I correct that. But other than that, everything else is basically 80% right about what you read online. And I will start working on that on my own blogs. See, like, this is it, and this is really what happened. So I'll make sure that we work on that ourselves. Yeah, no, since they're not gonna correct it.
Yeah, and I am glad that you clarified that, because I feel like getting to know your story from the beginning and why you started your business, I feel like you are very, like, such a pure person. And I agree with you that I feel we need more people in the world right now that is willing to help others. It doesn't matter the language that you speak, the color, your political, your religion, like it doesn't matter. Because I feel like we all could benefit from helping each other.
In decades, it manifests. In decades.
I wanted to ask you some questions.
Okay.
Because I feel like you have shared so much. And I want also people to be able to go deeper in, like, for example, for the people that is looking to build a business or that is in the process of building a business, what is the best advice that you have received?
If you are influenced by design and your forte is design, music, anything that has to do with the fine arts, let's just say that, fine arts, learn the worth of your work. Do not let anyone tell you what you're worth first. And that was a mistake I did a lot. They would say, I only have $1,000, but I want your work. Oh, okay, for the fame or for the cloud or for the connections. Maybe really learn who's offering that first off. Get to know your client who's offering it. There's those that just want it all and really cheap. Be careful of those. They don't help at all. There's those that come, if there's a middle, that you do a middle medium of money. So this is more of the worth, your worth. And they say, I really want you, it's the tone, the approach. I really want your work, but I just don't know. I can't afford all that. You will feel it, but don't undersell yourself, because then you're setting up the entire industry to be negotiating. No one negotiates with Target. No one negotiates with Sam's Club. And it's a standard order, but with us, it's constantly a negotiation. Okay, I want a quote for this. Oh, no, I'm sorry. My client only has $300. I have a minimum. Learn your minimums. That would set you up to learning then the ruling, how to defend yourself, do your contract, and get a lawyer to do your contract. Don't go and buy it from somebody else.
Or ChatGPT, eh?
No, don't do that. I mean, it's good setup. Like, you can set it up to give it to your lawyer, but your lawyer will have the right and put all the investment of your first year towards protecting with the law of the constitutions and the states' laws, everything, because you will always meet one that will try to argue and think no. And I had one of the worst experiences of my life. I think I cried on this one a lot. After this woman comes out of nowhere. She's, I think, from Montana, and she made me believe that my work was amazing. And so she's like, but I only have $3,000. Okay. And I was in school, and I delivered in the flower type of flower. We have to remember we're in the desert. So a type of flower didn't come, but another type of flower did that was similar to it. And she just looked at me, and I remember her. I was like, okay, I did everything. She's like, okay, thank you. And just walked. And I should have stayed, because the next day she wrote me 2 pages of how horrible of a person I was, and that I needed to return all the money. That's another thing that happens with us artists, that they always have a claim. And I found it on my contract. You don't have claims after I surrender. And that is what makes a lot of the artists be scared, because there's a lot of different mentalities out there. What they deserve is like the person that buys a ticket to the airplane and feels like they own the entire airplane. No, we're still in Uber. You rent the Uber and then you think that Uber owes you.
Yeah.
No, we are self-entitlement is a dangerous thing right now. And that would be my first thing. Protect yourself from self-entitlement. Protect your worth, and learn from what you're worth. Count the water, count the electricity, your time, everything. Because it's a specialty thing that not a lot of people can do. Only, I think 2% can do what we do, to be honest.
What do you think about those entrepreneurs, the artists starting to say protect your worth, but they need, for example, like florists or artists, they are amazing.
Yeah.
But because they need a sale, or they need to they need to pay bills, they are able to lower. What advice can you give them, like mindset wise?
Yeah, I've done it a lot. And actually, I was telling my group last year, I think I'm still working like I'm in 2016. Meaning, yeah, no worries. We won't charge you the setup or the tear down. Oh, yeah, no worries. Like, always, yeah, no worries. That is a heavy burden on you just because you got that rapid cash. It's like going to cash loans or cash loans or loans, the fast loans.
Yeah.
You give me the money right now, and then you end up paying so much out of it, right? It's the same thing. I always want to say, don't do it. Don't do it. Do not do it. It's not worth it. They will always, there's that person came in, but there's also other people that will come in. And selling, Instagram is really good, but just say, hey guys, I'm really selling. This is going towards this. This will help me pay for my bills. People will be saying, hey, let me help you out. I do need flowers. Be honest with don't fall into like Dior. And we're humans, so it's okay to say, hey guys, I really need to sell this flowers this week. That happened to me lately. That was just like, I really need to sell flowers. That could help that person this. Oh, actually, I'm going to donate that. And so I said, guys, I have this amount of flowers. They're going to die in a week or two. And actually, this money will go towards this kid that is doing a fundraising in the lemonade stand I want to buy the lemonade for. And I wrote the whole thing. We made more than actual because people want stories, because we want to see the help. So be honest, but do not go and undersell yourself, because then you will pay more out of it. And the ones that cheap you out are the ones that complain the most. Ask a mature floral designer. True stories. Horror stories, actually.
That's a great advice, and I think a lot of people can relate, honestly.
Yeah,
and that happens a lot. Sometimes you are like, oh, I will bend for this person, but sometimes end up beating you.
Yeah, especially in the Latino community. It happens a lot to us. And just to touch back, not just in art. Landscape is it's an artistry. I just remember a family was telling my family that they would do it for $900 when I know it was worth like $3,000. And I looked at he was talking to my dad, and I was like, no. He's like, no, is it too much for you? No, sir, stop. Your worth is $3,000. I know it. And then he's like, no, but I don't want. And then it becomes like, I don't want to do this in apology. No, sir, it's a service. It's okay. You're worth $3,000. No, but in North, no, sir, stop. We are in an economy where people are good, but also they want to save. But don't cut yourself, because you gotta feed people. It's just a great service that everybody needs. That's why I'm like, it's not just in the art world; it's in the service world, and I think it needs to stop. It seriously needs to stop. This is why we're hurting constantly all the time. And I think it's something that's not well educated. And I actually would love to educate that if you're down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to keep talking after this. We might need a part 2, but we're going to keep talking. I wanted to end with a couple things.
Okay.
What are some other projects that you do other than quinceañeras and big projects? Like, for example, if somebody wants to host a private dinner, do you do floral arrangements and stuff like that?
Yeah, so my website is actually being functioned right now. As when you walk in, I don't know if we actually made it there are some glitches, but you type in MyloFleur.com. And then it says wedding events and private events and anything creative that has to do with floral. Then there's the photophylacture side, which is more the hospitality, the interior design, decor. So those two are my right and my left brain. Okay, then you click into it, and then we're gonna start doing subtitles or what did she call it? No. Self projects of all types. There's nowhere I will say, no, that's not what we do. Like, we go from private events, small events. We do have a minimum depending on the scale and design. Like, we have to keep it healthy in our system. we're even doing religious decorations for churches.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we were in the Jewish community. We love the Jewish, and then we were doing mosques too. I'm like, again, I'm very biased, and like I support everybody. I'm here because everyone has a right to live their life how they want it, as long as it's a good, positive way towards the rest. And so we are working religion. We love massaging that and to making sure we can go and help those that want to beautify their temples or churches. So that is something new that just came up out of nowhere. And I was like, yeah, we'll do a synagogue. Oh, yeah, we'll do a mosque. And then the LDS church. Yeah, we love. So we love doing the stuff like that. We do private showers where like women just want to like be dressed in floral in their shower. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yes, it's a cleanse of energy. Like we started doing it with somebody else, and I have to make sure it's okay for her to. For part 2, I'll make sure I understand that. But self-love, and understanding how Mother Nature manifests her love, and we're studying floral with energy and stuff. Like I'm all for improving us, especially in these times. So that's another one. I get a call. I'm like, hi, I am really struggling. This is actually really cool. I'm really struggling, and I'm seeing how you love taking pictures, and I just want to be. Can you set me up to feel beautiful? And I was like, yeah, what do you need? I just want to be beautiful. And she sent me pictures with flowers and her embracing the flowers. And I was like, come on. And we took in the project. I haven't posted them because they're very private. But then I was thinking maybe I can do like a little scenery of scenarios where it's how do you do a ritual bath with all this, with yourself? And if you want to take pictures, what photographers are good for this type of pictures? So
that my wheels are turning. That is such a good idea.
That is the core of my MyloFleur. Women, making sure my women are powerful. Where do we stand? What do we need to do? Are you guys suffering? What do we need to do? Because you're hurting emotionally, relationship. Let's get coaches. Invite coaches and then do a workshop with floral. Let's see how Mother Nature goes through this too. That's the core. You want to talk about core and then service? Core for me would be I can have this daily. Then we do. Did you see our fashion show?
Yeah.
So we do flowers with dresses and stuff. So again, limitless.
So if somebody want to work with you, how can they reach out to you?
Clients, email me, fill out my form at www.mylofleur.com/contact. That's how you can get a hold of me, because it's a program that I put together that really sets them apart, and it does a portfolio or a profile for them. So I know I will never lose them. But if you email me, then I will tell you to fill it out. But that's how it usually works.
What is an advice that you will tell your younger self?
I would say actually advice would be don't say no. I said a lot no's. No. And then I was like, dang it. I should have done it. Like what if I did go to electrician school and I still did this? I will have that in my, and I would not be like, hello, can someone, the power just went out. Like I was like, what if I listened to my dad just a little bit and like what would have happened? Or what if I did get, like what if I did fall in love and let it happen? Maybe someone will be with me next to it,
Yeah.
But then I think that it's just like try not to say no. I say a lot of no's for those that are close to me, that give me like opinions. I'm like, no, you don't know anything, But I think that would be my stop saying so many no's and maybe try it. But if it's my idea, I'll always do it. And I think I always keeping people in mind all the time. So I wouldn't change anything on that side. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you so much for being here today.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
So we need to plan part 2, okay? Just let us know in the comment if you want part 2.
Yes, part 2. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. You're going to find Mylo's contact information link below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. and also share to anybody that this episode will be helpful. Please stay tuned to all of our websites and social media because Mylo and we are creating a special event for women's for Mother's Day. So stay tuned, and we're cooking a lot of great things that you're going to love. See you next time.